treatment, some children tend to gain weight while on steroid therapy. We have to be careful about, especially teenagers are very sensitive about gaining weight, so we have to be careful about that they will not put themselves on weight loss diet during treatment. If they are over the most intense therapy, it's a good idea to be healthy, eating, but they need to eat even if they are overweight or if they gain some weight. Many times the weight gain is kind of, it's not a real weight gain, it's maybe fluid or it's disproportional because of the steroids. Okay, so the first goal when the child is sick is actually not to make a stressful situation out of food. That's definitely the first goal when the child is in the hospital. So the peace and kind of relaxed attitude toward food is very important. The next goal is safety. In some hospitals, we are using neutropenic diet or low bacteria diet, and I'm going to review that. In other hospitals, this diet is not used, and the reason is there really is not much research behind if low bacteria diet is any better than just food safety. So in the recommendations is that in high income or high food safety standard countries, as is North America and Western Europe, usually we don't have to be as strict about the low bacteria diet as in countries with low food safety standards or with very high hot climate that the food can get spoiled easily. Anyway, in our hospitals we do still follow the low bacteria diet for some patients. Can I ask you who follow if all these children follow low bacteria diet? No? So some you see, some yes, some no. And I just want to tell you, if the hospital where you came from do not, if they don't follow low bacteria diet, it's nothing wrong. That's really, it's kind of like depends on the hospital. So, but all patients should be educated about food safety, eating safely, because patients, when they go through the treatment, the immune system is not working properly, and there is a risk, as for anybody who is healthy, that they can get sick from food. So the families should be educated about shopping for food, preparing food, storing food, eating out, and high-risk food items. And then again, the eating safely, we recommend no expired products. Everything should be pasteurized. Everything what you buy in the store is pasteurized. Anyway, everything should be refrigerated or freezed if it's supposed to be. Hand wash hygiene is extremely important. Thawing food properly, and be very careful when you are eating out with your child, because you really don't know how the food was prepared and who prepared it. Usually the cold food should be stored under 40 Fahrenheit and the hot food over 140 Fahrenheit. And this is just a graph about how long you can keep the food in the refrigerator, and after that it should be trashed. We recommend to avoid some food during treatment, and one of the food is tea. And I get a lot of questions about that, and that's because of Bacillus cereus. Bacillus cereus is in the soil, and it can get on the tea leaves. The spores will survive the hot water, and it actually can become unsafe if you have the tea and put sugar and leave it for like 2 hours on the counter. If you boil the tea, it will be safe. If it's instant tea, it's safe as well. But in our hospital, we are kind of strict about tea, so we don't let them drink tea. Black pepper is the same reason, because of Bacillus cereus. In our hospital, we actually sterilize the pepper in our cafeteria, so the pepper in the cafeteria is okay. Otherwise, you can use the pepper before cooking, but not after cooking. Then there are other high-risk food like reheated rice or reheated pasta. It's a high-risk food, and of course raw or undercooked eggs, meat, and shellfish. So that's a food safety, and the stricter version of the food safety is the low bacteria diet. And the low bacteria diet used to be used for all patients during the treatment. And as I said, now is the tendency to go away from the low bacteria diet. Anyway, in our hospitals, we are still following the low bacteria diet for some patients, for the high-risk patients. For example, the patients with ALL, they have to follow the low bacteria diet during induction, re-induction, and anytime they are neutropenic, so ANC under 500. For ALM, they have to follow it during the whole treatment because it's more intense, but shorter treatment. Non-Hodgkin lymphoma when the ANC is under 500, and then allogeneic transplant patients, they are the most neutropenic patients, and they have to follow the diet for a very long time after transplant. We don't let them eat in the restaurant, we don't let them eat leftovers, anything what is older than 1 hour, we don't let them eat. From the beverages, we don't let them drink tea. Anything what is bottled is okay, any bottled water, bottled drinks, but anything what is not pasteurized is not okay. And we don't let them drink from the bulk machines, soda machine, because you cannot really sterilize the whole machine. From the bread and cereal, that's a low-risk food. Basically, there is no risk except if the reheated rice or pasta, or if there is some kind of dry fruit, because dry fruit, again, can be contaminated, is uncooked. From meat and fish, anything what is well cooked, well done will be okay, but some food like sushi may use some uncooked meat, so that's will not be safe, and also smoking temperature is not high enough to kill all the bacteria. We recommend also nuts to be cooked or roasted. With the eggs, it should be cooked, no sunny side up, and that's because of salmonella infection. And milk, dairy, we don't recommend anything with mold, no moldy cheese, no soft serve ice cream, and no raw milks or yogurts. But the raw milks or yogurts, if you buy in the store, it's going to be pasteurized. It's not going to be, unprocessed, so you don't have to worry about that. The fruit, again, that's kind of controversial. Any food that is cooked, canned, or peeled will be okay, but we don't let them eat grapes, blueberries, cherries, raspberries, and strawberries. But if you listen to the news, usually the E. coli infection is going to be from strawberries, and the reason is it's touching the ground. Many times feces are used, animal feces, to fertilize the strawberries, especially if they come from Mexico or some other developing country. So it is a risk from the strawberries. So that's why we don't let them eat strawberries. About grapes, that's another fruit what children really like. I will be a little bit more flexible about grapes because it has washable surface. Just if you wash it really well, I think it will be okay. But we recommend for the children to continue to eat fruit during the treatment. It's very important. They feel like eating fruit. There's a lot of fruit which can be peeled, and it's very beneficial for them. The same with vegetables. Any vegetables which are cooked, peeled, or canned are okay, but we don't let them eat lettuce during when they are neutropenic, or spinach. And the reason is, if you hear the news again, E. coli infection gonna be from raw spinach or raw salad. So that's kind of precaution what we are using in our hospital so that the children don't get sick. And then fats and spices. We recommend to use the spices before cooking, not after cooking, except salt, of course, you can use after cooking. cooking, nothing gross in salt. And we don't recommend salad dressing with malt or raw eggs, so homemade prepared salad dressing. The next goal will be gut stimulation. So the gut is a muscle and it needs to be stimulated or it's going to atrophy. And even small bites of food will prevent the atrophy. And this is just a picture from a textbook, but you see that the gut has a villi. And on the villi you have microvilli, and that's make the surface of the gut really large and available for absorption of all the nutrients. This is just another picture of the microvilli. This is the cell. And if the child is not eating, you see that on the one side you have the villi during normal digestion, but if the child is not eating, the villi kind of get sick, they atrophy. So it's very important that the child eats every day, even if it's a very small amount, or drink something with calories to stimulate the gut. Of course, sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes the child is put on NPO because we cannot use the gut. But usually it's good if the child eats just a little bit, so you preserve the gut health. Even if the child is on PTN, total parenteral nutrition, it's good if it is medically appropriate, if the child continues to eating to prevent the atrophy. The next goal is caloric requirement. So after we have all the previous goals, then the next goal will be the caloric requirement. The caloric requirement for children who go through the treatment is much higher than for children which are healthy. Children anyway have higher caloric requirement than adults, and the reason is they are growing, they are developing, the organs are developing, the brain is developing. So sometimes it's very hard to meet all their caloric needs during treatment because they already have high caloric needs, and plus they are in stressful situations, so they have even higher caloric needs. They have also high protein requirements, and I gave you here some calories per gram of protein. So protein and carbohydrate are going to have the same calorie per gram, and then fat has 2 times higher. So that's why if we need to push for calories, we try to choose food which is high in fat, if it's tolerated. Sometimes it's not tolerated well. And this is a graph that on the X line, you have the age and the kilograms of the child, and on the epsilon, you have the percentage of the basal metabolic rate. And as you see, the children from 1 to 6 years, almost 50% of their metabolic rate is their brain. So, if they starve from calories or starve from the caloric requirement, the brain gonna be the organ which gonna starve the most because it's really high, has very high metabolic rate in that age. There are some short-term effects of malnutrition and long-term effects of malnutrition. Of course, if we don't have enough calories for a short period of time, the child will lose weight. We call it wasting. It's going to be underweight. Cancer cachexia is completely something a little bit different, but it's going to be triggered by the disease and by the child not eating. But it's a very complex situation. And then long-term side effects of malnutrition will be short stature. The children will not grow in the potential height. We call it stunting, increased risk for treatment-related complications, reduced tolerance to therapy, altered drug metabolism. Then they are more susceptible to infection, decreased quality of life.